Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the secondary science session, the second week of it. We had one last week. This is the second batch. And welcome to all Karnataka State Board schools for this session for grade 9 and 10 teachers, science teachers. My colleague Rajesh is here. He'll do a quick introduction and that will be followed by a presentation. And we'll move from there. Over to you, Rajesh.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕ ಮಿತ್ರರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಈ ಒಂದು ISPF ಹಾಗೂ ThinkTac ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಯ ವತಿಯಿಂದ ಇವತ್ತು ಏನು ISPF ಹಾಗೂ ThinkTac ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಕರ್ನಾಟಕ ಸರ್ಕಾರದ ಸಹಯೋಗದೊಂದಿಗೆ ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಿರು ಶಿಕ್ಷಕ ತರಬೇತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಆಯೋಜಿಸಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಆತ್ಮೀಯವಾದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಕೋರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಮೂರು ಹಂತವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಇದನ್ನು ನೋಡಬಹುದು. ಮೊದಲನೇದಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೃಚೇತಾ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅವರು ನೀಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಯೋಗಗಳ ಲೈವ್ ಡೆಮೋವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಈ ತರಬೇತಿ ತಗೊಂಡ ನಂತರ ತಾವೇನು ಮುಂದಿನ ನಡೆಗಳನ್ನು ಏನು ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟೆಪ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೃಚೇತಾ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅವರು ಡಿಸ್ಕಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಈಗ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪೃಚೇತಾ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅವರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಮಾತನ್ನು ಹೇಳುವುದಾದ್ರೆ, 2014ರಲ್ಲಿ ISPF ಸಂಸ್ಥೆ ಆರಂಭವಾದಾಗ ಪೃಚೇತಾ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅವರು ಕೂಡ ಅದರ ಸಹಸ್ಥಾಪಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಬ್ಬರು. ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ಅವರು ಬಾಹ್ಯಾಕಾಶ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಕ್ಷೇತ್ರದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿದೇಶದ ವಿಶ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಿಲಯದಲ್ಲಿ ತಮ್ಮ PhD ಪದವಿಯನ್ನು ಪಡೆದಿರುತ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗೂ ಇವರು ಒಬ್ಬ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ನ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದ ಎಲ್ಲಾ ವಿಭಾಗಗಳಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಮಾನ ಆಸಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ಹೊಂದಿದ್ದು ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಒಂದು ಶಾಲಾ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನದಲ್ಲಿ ಗ್ರಾಸ್ ರೂಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಬದಲಾವಣೆಯನ್ನು ತರಬೇಕು. ಆ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನವು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಅದ್ಭುತವಾದ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಕಲಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಕೈಯಲ್ಲಾಗುವ ಕೊಡುಗೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಉದ್ದೇಶದಿಂದ ಅವರು ಈ ಒಂದು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಗಿಯಾಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರು ಈಗ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದ ಮುಂದಿನ 3 ಹಂತಗಳನ್ನು ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಿಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಓವರ್ ಟು ಯು ಪ್ರಚೇತಾ.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್ ಅ ಲಾಟ್ ರಾಜೇಶ್. ಎಲ್ರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಮಾತಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಐಲ್ ಡೂ ದಿಸ್ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ ಇನ್ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್. ಏನ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ. ಮೈ ಕಾಲೀಗ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ದೇರ್, ರಾಜೇಶ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಜವೇರಿಯಾ. they'll help in answering any questions you have. Wherever I feel that something needs to be said explicitly Kannada, or if Rajesh feels, he will interrupt me and do that. I hope you enjoyed this session. We'll be also making something for about half an hour. So keep those small materials with you available. A little bit of turmeric, haldi, turmeric, some sunna, lime powder. If you don't have that, then even some detergent powder will work, and some water. That's all you need for this experiment that we'll do. And any kind of straw or tube. It can even be an empty pen without refill, or a straw if you have, or paper straw, anything. So these 3-4 things, if you keep ready, within half an hour, we will start a making session. Before that, I'll share a small presentation, do some demonstration of some activities, show some of our resources, and then hopefully we'll do the making and have also some fun with some questions and poll questions and so on. Okay, so I'll just share my screen.
Pro, I will just tell them about the material.
Yeah.
For interruption. ಶಿಕ್ಷಕ ಮಿತ್ರರೇ, ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಆಗಮಿಸುವ ಮುಂಚೆ ತಮಗೆ ಈ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿರಬಹುದು. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಈ ತರಬೇತಿ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ತಾವು ಒಂದು ಸಣ್ಣ ಪ್ರಯೋಗವನ್ನು ಸಹ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇರುವ ಕೆಲವು ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಸರಳ ವಸ್ತುಗಳಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಅರಿಶಿನ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಸುಣ್ಣ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ನೀರು ಹಾಗೂ 1-2 ಸಣ್ಣ ಲೋಟ ಅಥವಾ ಗಾಜಿನ ಪಾತ್ರೆಗಳನ್ನು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡಿಟ್ಕೊಂಡಿರಿ. ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನೀವು ಅದೀಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹತ್ರ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಆದ್ರೆ ಇವು ಒಂದು ಅರ್ಧ ಗಂಟೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಪ್ರಯೋಗ ಮಾಡುವ ಹಂತಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಹೋಗ್ತೇವೆ. ಆಗ ಅದನ್ನ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಹೋಗಿ ನೀವು ರೆಡಿ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ತರಬೇತಿಯ ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಪ್ರಯೋಜನವನ್ನು ತಾವು ಪಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ತಿಳಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ, ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್.
Okay. So the name of our organization itself is a source of interest. ThinkTac means what? So think, of course, all of us know, using our head, we want to think. Tac comes from the English word tactile, which means using your hand, using your senses, using your hearing, your eyes, your smell to observe the world around us. So sometimes people confuse it with the common English phrase think tank, but this is ThinkTac, andre tactile, meaning doing things with your hands, so that you actually get to make things, engage with the science, engage with the concepts, and experiential learning is what we focus on. So we are now doing it in science and maths. These trainings are happening in science and maths, and invariably in all our programs, because of the simple materials, the amount of exploration possible, children are always very happy and engaged. Okay. Just to give a little bit background, we started as a non-profit trust in 2014 called Innovation and Science Promotion Foundation that continues to work with lots of government schools, with lots of governments with other NGOs partnering throughout India. In 2017, we launched ThinkTac as a social enterprise to also work with private schools, combine the government and the private entrepreneurship learnings, and start a social enterprise so that we can reach all children. In 2018, in association with the Raman Research Institute Trust, which is a trust founded by Sir C.V. Raman before his death, this trust continues to function. It runs the Raman Research Institute, etc. In partnership with them, we started the Raman Awards, which is a hands-on science contest, annual science contest, and the only one of its kind in India. So we've been now running it for the last 5 years, and we'd encourage all teachers, their schools and children to participate. It's totally free to participate, and it happens annually every year on a cyclic basis. Over the last 3-4 years, we have also been closely having partnerships with various government organizations. For example, CBSE over the last 2 years has approved a lot of our content. Almost 100 activities are up on Diksha platform. The 9th and 10th science program for CBSE, where they couldn't do labs during the pandemic, our activities were chosen as the alternate option for children to do that instead of the labs. So lots of partnerships there. And lately we have partnership with DSERT Karnataka, which is why you're here, to work with all government schools and government aided schools and state board schools, private state board schools in Karnataka, where you will actually do 3 of our activities for each grade. And also similarly, a program is also starting with Uttarakhand. So these are the first 2 states where an MOU has been signed. We also work closely with press and publication outlets like Oxford University Press, Pratham, etc., so that our content reaches more and more children. Over the last 8 years, we've had all these sources of insight. So we've worked with more than 20,000 teachers face-to-face at trainings, 60,000 children, English as well as local state languages. We have content, we have trainings, we have interactions. We have mapped our syllabus to various boards like CBSE, ICSE, Cambridge, etc. And as I said, we have publishers who are our partners. We have research institutes like RRI, Azim Premji University, etc. And of course, a lot of schools that we have worked with directly. And these are in all sectors: rural, urban, private, government, etc. Just to give a quick background of our founding team, Ravi, who's our founder, trustee, and founder CEO of ThinkTac, and Vishal, who's also one of our co-founders. They both have a background in IT, but Ravi for the last 25 years has been an entrepreneur, and Vishal, of course, for about 12 years after quitting his IT job where he worked for about 10, 12 years. He's now, for the last 12 years, he's been in 10 years, he's been in the education space. The other two founders are myself. I come from a science background. I did my PhD in astronomy and came back to India wanting to work in the grassroots education space. And Raghu, who's our VP for partnerships, sales. In fact, he'll be the one who'll probably be in touch with you mostly after this program's over, making sure you have all the resources. He comes from a social science background and he's based in Mysore. The rest of us are based in Bangalore. So how do we do this teacher empowerment program? How can you partner with us? We have various resources, both online and offline, hard resources as well as soft resources that we will share with you through the course of this program, and as you start implementing these programs in your classrooms as well. So the Karnataka program in specific, for science, we are going to work with all you teachers from all 10 grades in this. So this is a secondary science workshop we are doing now. So the 9th and 10th grade teachers are probably present. We are also doing the same thing for maths for grades 6 to 10 as well. And the idea is that you'll have a lot of access to student content, teacher content, as well as support from us. And then students will also be able to do online classes if that is a possibility. Otherwise, of course, in the school itself, they'll be able to work on this. So that was kind of the overall background of this particular program. I'll continue now with a demonstration. And before I do that, I just wanted to get some idea about the where all of you have come from in terms of what school you teach in, what subjects you teach, etc. So if you can just go to this link that has come on the screen and start answering these questions, that will be great. Okay. So the first question is, what type of school do you teach in? Is it a government school, government aided, or is it a private unaided school? This is also to get you used to this, this polling platform, itempool.com/secondary science/live. So even if you keep that open, you should be able to see the YouTube video from there also directly. And you can always use the YouTube chat in your YouTube screen. But while answering the poll questions, you can also keep the chat, the item pool link open. So itempool.com/secondary science/live. That's also going to be pinned on the YouTube chat. So you can always just click on it directly from the YouTube chat link, and you should go directly to this site and be able to start answering this question. So please click on the link itempool.com/secondary science/live and start answering the question. All teachers. There are 100 of you now, so I'm hoping for some responses. This is also to test that you're able to see this link and able to click on it and start answering the polls. It's a very easy question, of course. Everyone should, there's no right or wrong answer, and you should all be able to see this. So first poll questions, I'm giving some more time. Hopefully from the next one, you'll be able to be a little more familiar with this and so able to answer slightly quicker.
ಎಲ್ಲ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವಿನಂತಿ, ಈಗ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ನ ಮೇಲ್ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪಿನ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ, ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲೊಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ಇವಾಗೇನು ಪ್ರಚೇತ ಮಲ್ಲಿಕ್ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು, ನೀವು ನೀವು ಯಾವ ಶಾಲೆಯಿಂದ ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸರ್ಕಾರಿ ಶಾಲೆಯ, ಅನುದಾನಿತ ಶಾಲೆಯ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನುದಾನ ರಹಿತ ಶಾಲೆ, ಖಾಸಗಿ ಶಾಲೆಯಿಂದ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ತ್ವರಿತವಾಗಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನೀಡಿ. ಇದು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಎರಡು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಯಾವ ಯಾವ ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಗ್ರೌಂಡ್ ಇಂದ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಎರಡನೇದು, ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ತರಬೇತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಐಟಮ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ತುಂಬಾ ಸರಿ ಬಳಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಇದು ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಉಪಯೋಗ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ, ಇದರಲ್ಲೇನೋ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಷನ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಂತ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ತದೆ. ಈಗ ನಮಗೆ ಕಾಣುವಾಗೆ ಬರೀ 20 ಜನ ಟೀಚರ್ಸ್ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಇದು ತುಂಬಾ ಕಡಿಮೆ, 100 ಜನ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ. ಸೊ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಇನ್ನೂ ಒಂದು 10 ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ತಗೊಂಡಾದ್ರೂ ಬೇಗ ಉತ್ತರ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಲ್ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಇದೆ, itempool.com ಸೆಕೆಂಡರಿ ಸೈನ್ಸ್ ಲೈವ್ ಅಂತ. ಅದರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajesh. So I'll finish this first one and we'll move on to the next question. So this one asks specifically, what subject do you teach? Is it science or mathematics or both?
ನೀವು ಆಗ್ಲೇ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿದ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನೇ ಮತ್ತೆ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ಅದೇ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಈಗ 2ನೇ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ತದೆ. ನೀವು ಯಾವ ವಿಷಯವನ್ನು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂಥದ್ದು. ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ, ಗಣಿತ ಅಥವಾ ಎರಡನ್ನು ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡೋದಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಆಯ್ಕೆಗಳನ್ನು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿ. ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಬಟನ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅದು ಸಂಪೂರ್ಣ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ನಮ್ಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಉತ್ತರ ತಿಳಿತದೆ ಯಾವುದು.
Okay, thank you very much. I think most people will be science here, which is what was expected. But some of you do teach maths as well, and one of you is saying that you teach both too. So good. We've had the other sessions. You can watch those YouTube videos whenever possible. And it's just to know whether, hopefully, some of you also teach for multiple grades. So this is just to get an idea of that. So here you can select all the options that apply to you. So it's in that sense a multi-selection option. You can choose all the options that apply to you, and then we get an idea of how many of you are teaching which grade. So most of you, of course, 9th and 10th, we expect that most of you will select that, but you may be also teaching junior classes.
ಈಗ ಮೂರನೇ ಒಂದು ಸರಳವಾದ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ತಮ್ಮ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾಹಿತಿಯನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ. ನೀವು ಯಾವ ತರಗತಿಗೆ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಅನ್ನೋದು. 1 ಮತ್ತು 2 ಅಥವಾ 3 ರಿಂದ 5, 6 ರಿಂದ 8, 9 ರಿಂದ 10, ಅಥವಾ ಈ ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಇದ್ರೆ, ನೀವು ಎಲ್ಲ ತರಗತಿಗೂ ಪಾಠ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಆ ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನೀವು ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಮತ್ತು ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಬಟನ್ ಇದೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ಒತ್ತಿ.
Okay, thanks very much. So there are obviously most of you are 9th and 10th, but there are few of you are also teaching lower grades, as low as primary as well. So that gives us a good understanding of the group that's present here and how much work all of you teachers have to do, various grades, various levels, and so on. And that's why we are so proud of you when you actually take more activities to the classroom and still so interested and enthusiastic about making learning and all that so much more interesting in the classroom. So Thank you to all teachers. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, so this itempool.com/secondary/science/life will be there on your screen, and you can always go to that link to answer once we start doing the next few poll questions. So now we'll start with the demonstration. I'll show you 3 or 4 activities, and then we'll also make one activity. The theme for what we've chosen this time for you will be making an activity called the Respirometer, where you'll make a solution with some base, use an indicator, and then it will change color, and then you'll blow into it, and it should change color to back to its original. Yeah, so that we can actually measure what is our respiration rate. At some level, we can make a qualitative judgment about, and quantitative in that sense, about what our metabolic rate is. Okay. So the theme in that sense is talking a little bit about respiration, a little bit about indicators, acids, bases. To start off, I'll show you a few activities. Before that, let us see what your first understanding is of what you think respiration and breathing are. So I'll start with the first poll question about the topic. Are breathing and respiration related? There are 3 options here. There are 3 options here. Yes, there are 4 options here. Yes, they are related, and they are one and the same thing. They're not related, but they happen only in living things. They are related, but happen in cells, while breathing happens in plants and the animal itself. Or breathing and respiration are not related at all. So these are the 4 options. Rajesh, you can also say it in Kannada quickly.
Okay. ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಈಗಿರುವ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ನಾವು ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ, ಉಸಿರಾಟ, ಮತ್ತೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳು, ಇದು ಎರಡು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಿದೆಯೋ ಅಥವಾ ಆ ಎರಡು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸಂಬಂಧ ಇಲ್ಲದಿರುವ ವಿಚಾರವ ಅಂತ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವಾಗ ನಾವು ಮೂಗಿನ ಮೂಲಕ ಏನು ಉಚ್ಛ್ವಾಸ ನಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಕ್ರಿಯೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಬ್ರೀದಿಂಗ್ ಅಂತ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕರೆದಿರುವಂತದ್ದು. ಆಮೇಲೆ ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವುದು ಜೀವಕೋಶದ ಮಟ್ಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಮ್ಲಜನಕ ಜೀವಕೋಶದ ಒಳಗ ಹೋಗಿ ಆನಂತರ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಸಾಯನಿಕ ಕ್ರಿಯೆಗಳಾಗಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಂದು ಇದು ರೆಸ್ಪಿರೇಷನ್, ಇದನ್ನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇದು ಒಂದಕ್ಕೊಂದು ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಿದೆಯಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ.
Okay, thanks Rajesh. So I'll stop this poll question now, and we'll look at the results and talk about them briefly. So majority have given C, which is actually the correct answer. Very good. So yes, they are related, but respiration happens in the cells. That's where the gas transfer and the transfer of oxygen and carbon dioxide, where oxygen is transferred to the cells and used with the food to produce energy. So that's respiration, that particular chemical reaction of using glucose and oxygen to produce carbon dioxide and energy and water as the byproducts. Some of you have also said A, that they mean the same thing. So this is the slight difference. Breathing is just the act of inhaling and exhaling. Respiration is the chemical reaction that happens at the cells. So they're not just the same thing, although they are related. Some of you have answered B, saying that no, they are different. No, as in they are not related, but they are related. And the other part is right, that both breathing and respiration happen only in living things. But the fact that they're not related is not right. They are related, but at the level where respiration happens in the small cellular level, breathing is this whole act of intaking and outgoing of air. And of course, very few of you have said that they're both they're not related at all. So we'll move on from that. I have this activity here with me, which is a very nice model of a stethoscope. Now you might think that this is just a model and it doesn't work, but remember how I told you that we are talking about activities that are tactile, meaning they actually demonstrate the science concept. It's something that you can actually feel and hear and see by playing with these activities. So not only do children have a lot of fun making this, they also get to play with it. They can hear the other person's heartbeat, and just by putting this in their ear. How has this been made? Very simple. It's just a rubber tube, thin rubber tube that's been used. Inside that rubber tube, two of them, I have connected this binding wire. And this binding wire is what gives us this shape, this binaural shape. Okay, this binding wire, some rubber foam taped so that it doesn't hurt my ears. And at the bottom, the two wires, two tubes come through this bottle cap, where I've made a hole and bottle cap, and then I've put this balloon on top. So that acts as my chest piece, as the membrane, and as this captures the sound from my heart, the membrane vibrates and the sound goes up. And this is how a stethoscope works. And we've made this wonderful, easy model right here. How is this very useful for children? They can put it in their ear, they can hear distinctly. I can hear both the sounds of my heart, the lub and the dub, which you can't usually hear, and you can always count your pulse by feeling your pulse in your wrist or whatever, but you aren't able to actually hear the sound of the heart. So this gives a very kind of thrilling feeling for the child, and it also allows you to do some things like I can place it in various parts of my chest, and I get to actually see the size of my heart as well, more or less. Okay, so it's an estimate, but something so simple and so non-invasive, I'm able to feel how much of my chest, at least area-wise, how much of my chest I can actually hear my heart, and therefore I can say that, oh, it's spread across these many square centimeters over here. Maybe it's half the thickness of my of the width of my chest, and so I can actually calculate its size as well and see what volume it is and whether that matches what we know it to be from more investigative research that's been done on the human body. You can also count the number of heartbeats per minute, see if your heart rate increases with exercise, reduces with exercise, so on and so forth. And that will come into play when we do our next activity, the one that you will make with the indicator and the respirometer, what we are calling. So stethoscope, very fun activity and something that you can actually measure your heartbeat rate. So now talking about heartbeat and heart, let's have a quick question about the heart as well. What do you think is the role of the heart? What is the purpose of the heart and what is the role of the heart? So it has three options. Is it to make oxygen reach the cells? Is it to throw out carbon dioxide? Or is it to make blood reach the cells? So those are the three options about the for this particular question.
ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಈಗ ಮುಂದಿನ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ, ನೀವು ಆಗತಾನೆ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಐಟಮ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕಾಣಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಿಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಈ ತರ ಇದೆ: ನಮ್ಮ ಹೃದಯದ ಪಾತ್ರ ಏನು? ನಮ್ಮ ದೇಹದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೃದಯ ಇದೆ, ಅದರ ಪಾತ್ರ ಏನು ಅನ್ನುವಂಥದ್ದು. 3 ಆಪ್ಷನ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸೂಕ್ತ ಅನಿಸುವಂತದನ್ನ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿ. 1ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಆಮ್ಲಜನಕ ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳನ್ನು ತಲುಪುವಂತೆ ನೋಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದು. 2ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅನಿಲವನ್ನು ಹೊರಹಾಕುವಂತದ್ದು ದೇಹದಿಂದ. 3ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ರಕ್ತವು ಜೀವಕೋಶಗಳನ್ನು ತಲುಪುವಂತೆ ನೋಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳುವುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ನ ಮೇಲ್ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪಿನ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಬಟನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಆನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ.
Okay, thank you very much. We got some nice responses. I think most of you will agree that it is to make blood reach the cells. Some of you have said to make oxygen reach the cells, which is of course the ultimate goal. To get the blood to the cells is to get oxygen to the cells, to get carbon dioxide out of the cells and so on. But the heart's role is the pumping part, which is the pushing the blood to the cells. So option C is the correct answer, and it's good to see pretty good responses from all of you. The other activity that is very nicely related to talking about all of this is again very simple. It's made from this plastic bag, okay? Or nowadays you get the biodegradable version of this bag as well. You tie a knot on one side and it stays open the rest of it, like this on the other side. They use it sometimes to store vegetables. It's there in supermarkets and so on. But for us, it works as a very nice measuring bag. And what can we measure? We can actually measure our breath. How do we do that? I can keep this side, the closed side away, and the open side I can blow into it. My full exhalation I give, and I get a nice cylinder like this filled with my air, my exhaled air. Right? So I can again take this air out, all of it out, and blow into it again. Most of it escaped. I'll do it again. Yeah, so I get this nice tube, like a cylinder of air with me. I have this 1 liter bottle with me, and it so happens that this plastic sheet happens to be about the same diameter, the same size as this, thickness of this, girth of this bottle. So when I actually measure it, I can actually estimate the volume of air that I exhale from my lungs by just estimating with this 1 liter water bottle. And I get about 2.5 liters of air that I've been able to blow out from my lungs. So of course, some air remains in my lungs. That's called the residual capacity. But then there's also the inhalation and exhalation, the maximum capacity that each individual has. And you can actually play around with this and measure this. And it becomes quite a fun activity because you can do it with children of different ages. You can do it with adults. You can do it with different gender. You can do it with someone who's exercises a lot and see if their lung capacity is more. We had a colleague from Kashmir who used to measure his lung capacity. He used to easily be able to blow out 4 liters in a single breath because he lives at a high altitude and he has therefore larger lung capacity than most of us who live at lower altitude. So again, it's something so simple. You can do a lot of investigation and do a survey among children, among adults, among your family, among the community, just to see what their lung capacity is and say correlate with age or correlate with exercise or correlate with the altitude they live in and things like that. So again, wonderful tool, and it will come in use later when we talk about the respirometer as well. Right? Now I'll just show 1 or 2 activities that we do on that I'll show you the resource on our website. Since you're talking about lung capacity, I'll show you an example about the a lung model, which some of you may have seen. So give me a second as I share the screen with you. So these videos are all available on our website and on YouTube. Okay, so now again, maybe they'll start with an advertisement, which won't be good. But yeah, so after that, we'll. So ThinkTac video activities are all there on YouTube, how to make the activity. It starts with a screen showing all the materials required for that activity, and then usually a 2-3 minute video to show the making of the activity. We'll speed this video up so that you're not waiting, watching it for spending too much time on it. But this is made using a cut bottle. Some of you may be familiar with this activity. We use balloons of 2 different sizes, a couple of straws, and of course things like tape, glue, and all that are often required for doing all this, making these activities, right? In this case, we are using some heated metal wire, scissors, so children get to use these tools, and some of them maybe children have never used before. But if they start using from a young age, some of them may require some adult supervision. If very young children are using a flame and so on, we recommend an adult to be present at all times. But for 9th and 10th standard children, they should be able to use these even without adult supervision. So there's cutting, there's gluing, there's taping. All the materials we use are raw, unprocessed materials. So the product may not first time look very neat, but there's a lot of scope for exploration because children can make it in different ways. They can change the size, they can change the materials, so on and so forth. So even within your classroom, you'll get a lot of variations that come just by the making aspect. So this one you may be familiar with, 2 small bottles with 2 small balloons that act as your lung, and the big balloon which is cut and placed on the bottle, that big balloon acts as the diaphragm. Right, so that big green balloon that has been pasted here at the bottom of the lung model, that acts as your diaphragm. I don't know whether. So when you pull the diaphragm, the balloon actually, inside balloons which represent the lungs, they inflate. So now you know how breathing actually happens by the moving of the diaphragm. So the brain sends signal to the diaphragm, and the diaphragm expands and allows air to go in because it's increasing the volume, so pressure reduces inside your lung cavity, so the lungs expand. And the diaphragm then contracts and pushes all the air out when you're exhaling. And all this happens naturally without us thinking about it. And the brain is constantly sending signal to the diaphragm. So when we think that we use the nose for breathing in, but it's actually just the diaphragm moving up and down that's drawing air in and then pushing air out. Of course, this is also a voluntary / involuntary activity. If I want, I can hold my breath and my diaphragm is not moving during that time. But that is a conscious effort I have to make. Of course, after 1 minute or whatever, you'll start feeling breathless and the brain will demand that you start breathing again, right? Otherwise, you get more and more breathless and you feel like choking. So, but otherwise, when you're sleeping, running, walking, not thinking about it, we continue to breathe. So it's one of those wonderful involuntary activities that keeps happening, but through practice and all that, yoga, etc., then we are also told to be very conscious about it and actually breathe in and out consciously also sometimes in the day so that you take nice deep breaths. So that was a model about the how the lungs work. Okay, I'll show one more, and this is about how the blood moves up veins. Again, very interesting kind of activity. We often wonder how the blood does move up the veins from the lower part of the body to upper part of the body, despite it being so heart being so further up in our body, it's still able to get blood from all the lower reaches of like our toes and all that. So how is that blood climbing against gravity and staying up there? So this is a model to show how veins actually work. Have a look at this. So here we use a fat kind of straw as the to simulate the vein itself. Inside that, the joints we use, so these balloons are used as the valves. So that's the special design that a vein has, is these valves. And then we are using them, this small rubber tube, the same thing with which I made the stethoscope. The same rubber tube is being used, small pieces, to help install the valves and join the different sections of the veins. So this particular one we are showing has 3 sections. So just tape some tube, small balloons, and your vein model is ready to use. So this red water to simulate blood, and to press the middle straw piece, and water starts climbing up, liquid starts climbing up, and then it stays up there. It doesn't fall back down. So how is this working with the, you can see, you're pressing this with your fingers. These balloons open on the, when the water goes up, but if the water tries to go down, the balloons will shut. So they are acting like valves. Okay, and that's what makes veins so special. That's their design that they have. They have valves, and that's how they're able to allow water to go up. Very similar to our hand pumps and so on, which have valves and allow water to not only go up, which is the act of pumping. The pressing is allowing the water to go up, but why doesn't it then fall back down when I release? That action is happening by the valves, and that's the special design element here. So these 4 activities I've shown you. One was, of course, the stethoscope, where we talked about the heartbeat and so on. We showed that we've used this binding wire as the one to give it this nice binaural shape. Then with the lung capacity activity, we measured lung capacity and estimated it with a 1 liter water bottle. In the lung model experiment, we used balloons. We used the large balloon as the diaphragm. And then, of course, in this vein model activity, we saw how these small balloons act as valves. And that's the special design that veins have to be able to function. So now we'll go to the main experiment, where I'll also expect all of you to make the activity with me. So we'll start making the activity. Okay. So here I have with me a glass, and in this glass, I'm going to add some of this material. So let me just, for now, I'll keep this item pool link away, so that you're focusing on the activity itself, right? So I have this glass with me. In that, I'm going to put some turmeric, some haldi. So just a pinch of it. There's some haldi in this. And then with me, I also have sunna in this. Lime powder, the chemical compound is calcium oxide. Okay, so it's not calcium carbonate, which is chalk. We sometimes confuse it with that. This is calcium oxide or whitewash. All our whitewash painting, all that is done with sunna. It's done with lime powder. So very easily available. And of course, we also use it in things like bida, in pan. So in that sense, it's also not poisonous. You can have it in small quantities, although I won't recommend eating a whole lot of it. That's what causes the lacerations and all that when we have too much of pan, right? The white sunna part of it. Okay. So I've just put a very small pinch of it here. Now, ideally, you want to be measuring these quantities. You can use small measures like a teaspoon or a smaller spoon. Each of them actually have a set measurement for them. For example, a teaspoon is exactly 5 milliliters. And you can see what the weight is corresponding to that for, say, you're taking some tuna powder. So if I'm actually going to do measurements in a classroom, we provide these small straw pieces which you can cut from that fat straw and create measuring cups. So all our guides show you creating that measuring cup, then measuring this much tuna, these many milliliters of water, so on and so forth, to create this mixture. Here I'm showing you quickly on this demonstration. All of you are making with me. So we won't spend time making those measuring cups and doing the measurements in that much detail. This is just to show you, give you an idea of how this experiment actually works. So I hope all of you with me have this, which is the little bit of this turmeric powder and the tuna on top. The next thing we need to add to it, of course, is the water itself. So in my case, I have a dropper, so I can measure it. I'll add about 10 to 15 milliliters of water in this. So each one of these is about 10 ml, 3 ml. So I'll add it about 3 times, maybe 4 times, and a 5th time. So about 15 milliliters of water. As you can see, the haldi is already slowly changing color as more and more chuna dissolves in the water. So we keep stirring. Chuna doesn't dissolve very well in water. It slowly dissolves, and you can start thinking calcium oxide dissolving in water forms calcium hydroxide. Very easy chemistry equation as well. CaO plus H2O gives CaOH twice, right? CaOH2. And so very easy to, don't need to really even balance that equation. That's how simple it is. And calcium hydroxide, we know it to be a base, an alkali. So turmeric happens to be a beautiful natural indicator. It changes color when exposed to a base, and it changes to this wonderful color. In English, we call it vermilion, and the material therefore also called vermilion. If I dry this, I'll get vermilion powder. Indian languages, lots of names for that. Kumkuma, kumkum, sindur, shidur. They're all names for the same red powder that we get, which is traditionally made this way. Turmeric mixed with lime powder and then water and then dried, and you get your kumkuma. Right? So that's what we've made here. If you don't have lime powder, you can also use detergent powder. Anything light colored will be nice. So white detergent powder, but even the light blue, the surf type of detergent powder that you get, you can use that instead of the sunna as well. So detergents also have good quantity of sodium hydroxide, another base, and you're able to get the same color with that as well. Okay. So the color might change a little bit with different bases you use, but they'll all be taking you towards the red. So the detergents usually slightly more intense because the base is slightly stronger. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base. Calcium hydroxide slightly weaker base. So the color on the scale of this redness of the turmeric changes a little bit due to the pH. So it's almost like a pH indicator. So here you have nice red liquid that has formed. Now, ideally, I'll take a filter paper, I'll get a filtrate of this red liquid to use for my experiment. But I'm going to keep it aside in 2 different containers. I'm going to put some in another glass. Okay. And here is this other glass. Okay. And now I'm going to ask you another poll question just to get again your thinking juices working. Okay. Just give me a second. Go back to this link, to your item pool link, and you can start answering the question. What do you think will happen if we exhale into distilled water? Would you get an acidic solution, alkaline solution, or would it remain neutral? So distilled water happens to be exactly neutral. If you exhaled into it, what do you think will happen?
ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಈಗ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನ ಪ್ರಚಿತ ಅವರು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ತಾವು ತಮ್ಮ ನಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಏನು ಗಾಳಿ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ, ಆ ಗಾಳಿಯನ್ನ ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಲ್ಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ನ ಮೂಲಕ ಹಾಯಿಸಿದ್ರೆ ಆ ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಲ್ಡ್ ವಾಟರ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯ ದ್ರಾವಣ ಆಗಿ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಆಗುತ್ತೋ ಇಲ್ಲೋ ಅದು ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಆಯ್ಕೆಗಳು: ಒಂದನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಅದು ಆಮ್ಲೀಯ ದ್ರಾವಣ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಾಮ್ಲೀಯ ದ್ರಾವಣ ಆಗಿ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಆಪ್ಷನ್ 2. ಅಥವಾ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ 3 ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಪರಿವರ್ತನೆ ಇರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ತಾವು ತಮ್ಮ ನಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಉಸಿರಾಟದಲ್ಲಿ ಗಾಳಿಯನ್ನು ಹೊರಗೆ ಬಿಡುವ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಗಾಳಿಯನ್ನು ಡಿಸ್ಟಿಲ್ ವಾಟರ್ ನ ಮೂಲಕ ಹಾಯಿಸಿದ್ರು. ಈ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಐಟಮ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಲ್ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಿನ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ, ಆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ತಮ್ಮ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿ ಹಾಗೂ ಕೊನೆಗೆ ಸಬ್ಮಿಟ್ ಬಟನ್ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇದೆ, ಅದನ್ನ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಪ್ರೆಸ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಆಗ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಗ್ತದೆ.
Thank you. Yeah, we're getting good number of responses. Almost half of you are answering, 1/3 of you, which is good. Get that number up, get more of you answering, then the discussion happens more easily. The answers are all anonymous, so there's no fear of getting it right or wrong. In any case, there should be a fear, because it's only when we get something wrong that we actually learn from it. So that's when we can have a meaningful discussion. So anyway, I'll stop this poll for now and we'll reveal the results. So most of you have said that you will form an acidic solution if you exhale into distilled water. Some of you have said it remains neutral, and some of you have said that you'll actually make it basic. Now, it's very interesting, as we've talked about inhalation, exhalation. The air that is around us has mainly nitrogen, 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 1% rest of the gases. Okay. Typically, argon is the one that constitutes most of that remaining 1%. But effectively, it's all nitrogen and oxygen. Carbon dioxide, only 0.04% in the air around us. 0.04%. Enough to heat the world by 1.1 degrees since 100 years back, because it's increased from 0.03 to 0.04. But overall, if you look at it, very, very small percentage of the air, carbon dioxide, 0.04%. Our body respires, uses the oxygen, and gas exchange happens. Carbon dioxide is exhaled. But what is the composition of exhaled air? It's about 78% nitrogen, stays the same. Nitrogen doesn't, it's almost inert in its gaseous form. Okay. And that's why we sometimes pack foods with nitrogen, it stays for longer. And it's why plants and animals aren't able to just take in nitrogen from the air. If we did that, we wouldn't need to eat proteins. We somehow need the nitrogen to be fixed so that it can be used. And some plants do that, lightning does it, bacteria do it, but we can't do it from atmospheric oxygen ourselves. So nitrogen just goes in and comes out as it is 78%. Oxygen changes from about 21% to about 15-16%. And carbon dioxide goes up from 0.04%. Our exhaled breath has about 5 or 6% carbon dioxide, depending again on our metabolic rate, our age, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is the role that carbon dioxide coming out of our exhaled breath. Now, carbon dioxide is a gas made out of a non-metal and oxygen in this case, and we sometimes call them carbonates as the salts from which you can get carbon dioxide gas. So all these that have carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, when they mix with water, they form acids. These gases are acidic when they dissolve in water. So same with carbon dioxide. It forms a weak acid called carbonic acid. That is what our soda water, our soft drinks and all that, they're slightly acidic because of the dissolved carbon dioxide in that particular water. Okay, so carbon dioxide does form a weak acid called acidic, and it is slightly acidic in nature. Okay, so just to go back to the activity then. So if it is acidic in nature, what does it mean? It means that if I blow it into something that's basic, it should be able to neutralize it. And what have I done now with this kumkum that I've made? I've mixed base in water and haldi to turn the haldi red in color, vermilion. Can I turn it back into yellow? First, let's try it with a known acid. So in this case, in my hand, I've got some vinegar. Again, a kitchen item. Again, a kitchen item. You can use anything. Now, this is, I've not asked you to collect acid, but if you have lemon juice or mosaru or anything with you at home, tamarind, you can use any of that in water and it becomes a weak acid and wonderful to use. So our kitchen already has so many for us ready. So in this case, this kumkuma red in color, I'm going to add some vinegar, which is nothing but acetic acid, and shake it around, and the kumkuma becomes yellow in color once again. So that is my neutralization reaction that I'm doing with household acid and base, which was tuna in this case. Okay, and I've added vinegar and I've got haldi, color of haldi back. So that's how easy it is to make a acid base indicator. If I have some kumkuma and if I have some tuna and turmeric, the turmeric with the tuna and when it's neutral stays yellow. If I add acid, it will stay yellow. If I add base, it becomes vermilion, red in color. With vermilion, if I add acid, if I add just neutral, it will stay red. If I add acid, it will become yellow. If I add base, it will stay red. So with this red and yellow, I can make litmus paper. I can do various experiments in the house, testing food items, etc., and see if they are acidic or basic or neutral. Wonderful series of experiments that you can do. Now remember this red water that I collected a while back? Yeah. So in this, I'll add a little bit more water so that you can see the experiment. You can also add a little bit. Okay. So this is the experiment we are going to do. I have this and I also have the kumkuma that I had. Even in this, I'll add water so that I get it to the same color as this, because we're going to do a color comparison, right? Eventually. So I have my two kumkum solutions. One is for comparison later, and one is the one that I'm going to blow into to make a, to actually do the experiment. Okay. So I'll just move my chair a little bit so that you can see me. I have this kumkum water solution, and with me I have a straw. You can have anything that you have that is a cylindrical thing through which you can blow. So as I said, even a pen, you can make a roll out of paper quickly. If you wanted waterproof, just put some sellotape on it. Otherwise, you're doing this experiment quickly. It doesn't have to be waterproof as well. Just so that I can blow into this, bubble water into this solution. So the idea is that carbon dioxide is going to dissolve and we are going to see something, a change in color, right? Because I'm putting acid into this water, but this water is now basic. That's why it's red in color, and hopefully it changes to yellow. What am I going to count? I'm going to count the number of breaths. So that is my observation. That is the thing that I'm actually going to count. So I'll start blowing into it. And I blow normally so that you can count the number of breaths, normal breaths that I'm taking. And all of you also please do this experiment. Right? So I take the straw, I put it in, and I count the number of breaths that I'm taking. So that was 10 breaths. Okay. Maybe slight change in color, but not really distinct. I'll do 5 breaths now. So total of 15 breaths, and it's already changed to nice yellow color, right? So just blowing in 17 breaths, and I'm back to this original color of the haldi, which remember, I neutralized this and got the haldi back. And you can see the color of the kumkuma, which is here. Yeah, so this I've changed this to this color just by blowing into it. And I took some 15, 16 breaths to neutralize that amount of solution, basic solution back to neutral. If I keep blowing, then it remains acidic, it stays yellow in color, right? So now I've counted how many breaths I took, okay? And I can now do it in various levels. I can have someone else do it and see if they took less breaths or more breaths. I can have myself do it in different positions, standing, lying down, after exercise, etc. And see if the number of breaths actually changes. And that is giving me a measure of my metabolic or respiration rate. If someone takes less breaths, it means that the amount of carbon dioxide in their breath is more than mine. If someone takes more breaths, it means that the carbon dioxide in their breath is less than mine, that percentage of carbon dioxide in their breath. And that's determined by our metabolic rate. Of course, when we also run around and come back, our heartbeat is faster. So we can compare our heartbeat rate with how many breaths we take. Does it change with one? If heartbeat rate increases, do we need more breaths or less breaths? We can make a guess, and then we can actually make the observation as well. So that's the whole idea of these experiments, that they're very simple to do. You can do the observations. We have all the observation sheets, the resources, the guides, the observation sheets are also translated in Kannada. So it's there for the students and teachers to see. And I'll show you all that as we go ahead in this presentation. So this was a respirometer experiment. You can compare it with the lung capacity. Now you may say, oh, number of breaths is not very scientific, because the amount of air I'm blowing out in one breath will be different from how someone else blows in. So why doesn't someone measure their lung capacity? Mine was some 2.5 liters that I exhaled in a single breath. Now, what if I do that, take a deep breath and do it? How many deep breaths do I take? Say I take 10 deep breaths. That means I've exhaled 25 liters of air into that solution. Someone else may have lung capacity 3 liters. They take only 8 breaths. So that means they've put 24 liters of air into that. So you can also make it even more precise and accurate by combining it with this lung capacity experiment and seeing that you can actually measure the amount of air you're blowing in and different people are blowing in to neutralize the same volume of the same solution, and do various experiments. Of course, you can even extend that to doing experiments with changing the concentration of the tuna, using different bases, using different indicator, so on and so forth. Just to give you an example, our website, which is open to anyone, can be where you can see all these activities, for example, is called tactivity.in. Yeah, very simple, tactivity.in. The experiment you have done is this one called DIY Respirometer. You get to see the video. Okay. You get to see the guide, the instruction guide, which tells you the step-by-step with the picture and so on. There's a material list that also lists things like the alternate materials that you can use. And there's this observation sheet, which you can download using this pink button and print it out. And you can fill out this observation sheet either digitally or by printing out a hard copy. So there are all these experiments that the observation sheet asks you to do. And then you can try various of your own experiments as well, if you want to add on to it, or just follow what the observation sheet is doing. So those are the 4 resources that are there, open source. These are also the children resources that are available to anyone in the world if they go to tactivity.in. I'll show you later how you can access the teacher resources and how you can get support from us in doing that, as well as showing you some examples of translated guides and documents as well. Okay, so just that we've now finished this experiment and the making part, I'll just ask 2 more questions, and then we can move on to the rest of the presentation. The first is just a question to see if The respirometer, remember I was talking about the exercise part, whether this makes any sense to you, where we are asking which of the following would change immediately after exercise. So immediately after I do exercise, which of the following quantities would actually change? So amount of carbon dioxide, and you can choose more than one answer in this. So is it amount of carbon dioxide in exhaled breath, amount of carbon dioxide in inhaled breath, amount of oxygen in inhaled breath, number of breaths per minute, heartbeat per minute, lung capacity, and blood's pH levels. There are 7 parameters here, and we are asking you which of these 7 change when you actually do exercise, immediately after doing exercise. Okay, so this I'll give you a couple of minutes to answer, because it's a slightly long question with more options, and you might need to think for a minute or so. Some of you may still be working on the activity, and I hope most of you could do it and are experiencing that as well. So that will be a lot of fun. Rajesh, you can also repeat this if you want in Kannada.
ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರ ಈಗ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪೋಲ್ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೇಳಲಾಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ ಹೀಗಿದೆ: ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನವುಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದು ವ್ಯಾಯಾಮದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಬದಲಾಗುವ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾರೋ ಒಬ್ಬ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ವ್ಯಾಯಾಮ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ಅದಾದ ನಂತರ ತಕ್ಷಣವೇ ಈ ಕೆಳಗಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ನಾವು ಹೋಗಿ ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ಹತ್ರ ಒಂದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಕೆಳಗೆ ಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರುವ ಅಂಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೆಲ್ಲ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ವ್ಯಾಯಾಮದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಆಗುವ ಅವಕಾಶ ಸಾಧ್ಯತೆ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆ. ಆಯ್ಕೆಗಳು: ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ನಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಹೊರಹಾಕುವ ಒಟ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅನಿಲದ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ, ಅದು 1ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ. 2ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ: ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಉಸಿರನ್ನು ಒಳಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಒಟ್ಟು ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅನ್ನು ಅವನು ಒಳಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ತಾನೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಗಾಳಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಸೊ ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಾರ್ಬನ್ ಡೈಆಕ್ಸೈಡ್ ಅನಿಲವು ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯನ ದೇಹದ ಒಳಗೆ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ. 3ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ: ಒಂದು ಸಾರಿ ಉಸಿರಾಟ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ಉಸಿರನ್ನು ಒಳಗೆ ತಗೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಆಮ್ಲಜನಕ ಅವನ ದೇಹದ ಒಳಗೆ ಪ್ರವೇಶಿಸ್ತದೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ. 4ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ: 1 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಮನುಷ್ಯ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬಾರಿ ಉಸಿರಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಅದರ ಪ್ರಮಾಣ. 5ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ: 1 ನಿಮಿಷದಲ್ಲಿ ಅವನ ಹೃದಯದ ಬಡಿತದ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ 6ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ: ಅವನ ಶ್ವಾಸಕೋಶದ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಏನಿದೆ, ಲಂಗ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ, ಇವಾಗ ತಾನು ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪೆರಿಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದರೆ ಆ ಲಂಗ್ ಕೆಪಾಸಿಟಿ ಬದಲಾಗ್ತದ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ. ಮತ್ತೆ ಕೊನೆಯ ಆಯ್ಕೆ: ಅವನ ರಕ್ತದ pH ಪ್ರಮಾಣ ಬದಲಾಗಬಹುದಾ ಅಂತ. ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಸರಿಯಾಗಿರ್ಬೇಕಾಗಿಲ್ಲ, ಅನೇಕ ಉತ್ತರಗಳು ಸರಿ ಉತ್ತರ ಆಗಿರಬಹುದು. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಯಾವೆಲ್ಲ ಉತ್ತರ ತಮಗೆ ಸರಿ ಅಂತ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತದೋ, ಯಾವ್ದೆಲ್ಲ ಅಂಶಗಳು ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಒಬ್ಬ ವ್ಯಾಯಾಮ ಮಾಡಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅಂತ ಅನಿಸ್ತದೋ ಅದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಮಾಡಿ.
Thanks Rajesh. So we have the results out as well, which is let's have a look at them. As I said, more than one can be correct, so I'll go by the options and then we'll see how many have actually answered that. So amount of carbon dioxide in exhaled breath, yes, it will increase after exercise, as we saw, or as we talked about, that the metabolic rate increases, so the amount of carbon dioxide in exhaled breath should increase. So A is a correct option. 15 people voted for that. Amount of carbon dioxide in inhaled breath, now that's already there in the atmosphere. That cannot change based on whether we do exercise or not. So B is not a correct answer. It's not a correct answer. So A is correct, B is not. Amount of oxygen in inhaled breath, that also it cannot change, because that also is there in the atmosphere, whatever percentage of oxygen. So the way the whatever percentage of carbon dioxide, similarly whatever percentage of oxygen is in the air. So that cannot change, and it cannot change. And I'm a bit surprised that people have written that. Maybe they have misunderstood by amount meaning I'm taking deeper breaths, I'm taking in more air total, but then you'll be taking in more carbon dioxide as well. So there most of you have said that you won't be. So oxygen also, we meant the same thing, that how much is the oxygen in the air, and that amount doesn't change. Number of breaths per minute, of course, we all after exercising are panting because we need to take in more air in a shorter amount of time. So number of breaths per minute increases, heartbeat rate increases. So D and E are both, they're the most popular answers and they're both correct. F is lung capacity. Some of you have said that it also changes. Immediately after exercise, you're not changing lung capacity. Maybe if I exercise for several months, then my lung capacity will improve. But immediately after exercise, the whole idea of that I can suddenly exhale 3 liters into that bag is not going to happen immediately after exercise. So that is a false answer. Blood's pH level, which is the least popular here, but it's the most important when it comes to our body. And that was the idea of doing some of this experiment, right? That I'm blowing carbon dioxide into the water and I'm changing its pH by dissolving carbon dioxide in water to make it slightly acidic. The brain is monitoring only one thing of the blood when it comes to deciding whether we should breathe faster and our heartbeat rate should increase, and that is to measure the pH of the blood. So as soon as we actually start breathing and exercising, our blood requires more oxygen. And how does the brain know that? Because the blood's pH starts reducing, it starts getting more and more acidic because more carbon dioxide from the cells is getting pushed into the blood. So that's how the brain knows that we need oxygen. So that's when the brain sends the signal that you start breathing faster and you start, the heart has to start pumping more and more blood. Okay, so the blood's pH level does change immediately after exercise. It does go down, and by increasing our respiration rate and increasing our breathing rate, we are able to get it back to the neutral that it needs to be. So that is the idea of this particular thing. We'll just do a last poll to see if you have, how many of you succeeded in doing the activity. Okay, so the last question is, were you able to successfully complete making the activity? And the 3 options are yes, works nicely, no, not didn't work at all, or not working at all, or yes, I worked on it but not working as expected, or I'm partially completed the making. So just a quick poll to see if the activity was successful and you got it to work or not. Rajesh, you can do the quick translation of that too.
ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಯನ್ನು ಪ್ರಚಿತ್ ಅವರು ಕೇಳಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ತಾವು ಈಗ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯೋಗವನ್ನ ಮಾಡಿದಿರಿ ತರಬೇತಿಯ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ. ಆ ಪ್ರಯೋಗವನ್ನ ಮಾಡುವಾಗ ನಿಮಗೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ಪೂರ್ತಿಗೊಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ ಅನ್ನೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನ ಇಲ್ಲಿ 3 ಆಯ್ಕೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಹೌದು, ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ಪೂರ್ತಿಗೊಳಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಯ್ತು, ಮತ್ತು ಸರಿಯಾಗಿ ಅದು ಆ ಪ್ರಯೋಗ ವರ್ಕ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. 2ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ, ಯಶಸ್ವಿಯಾಗಿ ಪೂರ್ಣಗೊಳಿಸ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಆಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಏನು ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ ಬರ್ತಾನೆ ಇಲ್ಲ. 3ನೇ ಆಯ್ಕೆ, ಅರ್ಧ ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕಾಯ್ತು, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಬಯಸಿದ್ದೇವೋ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ನೋದು. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನ ಐಟಮ್ ಪೂಲ್ ಮೂಲಕ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಕೇಳಿದ್ರು.
Wait for 10 more seconds and then I'll stop this poll. Okay, I'm closing this poll. This was a last poll question. So let's see what the results were. Oh wow, good. So among those who have answered, more than 2/3, 20 out of 28 who answered have it working nicely, and 8 of you have working partially. So that may be around 30 of you who actually tried to do it. The remaining 100 and some were probably just observing and not making. So That's good to know, and hope you enjoyed making the activity. It was a lot of fun. We'll quickly go back to our presentation so that we don't miss some of the important things we want to share with you. Right? So just give me a second while I share that screen. We just finished the demonstration and the making. So what are the components for the teachers? The training orientation workshop that you're having live right now. This will be followed by the live activity sessions for the activities that are planned for the children, as well as the teachers. For the student and teacher, you'll get the activity instructions, the guide and video, observation worksheet, concept connect presentation and video. And there'll be support on the Telegram groups with content and rewards. So a Telegram link. So Telegram is an app like WhatsApp, but it allows for larger groups. It's slightly more secure, less spam and all that on it. So the Telegram, if you don't have it, please download it. If you have it, then there's a group link that is being put on the YouTube chat. It will also be a pinned message. You can just click on that link and automatically join your Telegram group. I'll tell you more about it a little bit later. How do each of these sessions pan out in the classroom? Okay, so as I showed you now, the making takes about 20 to 30 minutes. Then you do observations for 10-15 minutes, a concept connection for about 20 minutes, and then a recap quiz to understand if the children have understood the concepts and so on. That may be around 5 to 10 minutes. So within 70 to 80 minutes, you should be able to go through one activity, connecting it to theory, talking about the science, etc. So that's why we recommend a block period for each activity. Whether you do that together or spread it over 2 weeks, that is up to the school's constraints. If you do it together, you can do it once in 2 weeks or once a month and do these 3 mandatory activities that we talked about. What are the learning outcomes that you can expect from doing hands-on activities, what we call tactivities, tactile activities, right? That's how we've come up with the term tactivities as well. Conceptual clarity is definitely one of the skills that comes from it. These are all 21st century skills. Creativity and innovation. Because the materials are so simple, there's a large scope for innovation. So children tend to use the materials in different ways. They explore something else. So there's spontaneous exploration, there's flexibility in the design, there is a lot of scope for tinkering and rebuilding to happen. And because of all that exploration and all that happens in the building process, children also end up thinking critically and solving problems based on the activity itself. So it imbibes all these what are called 21st century skills. Of course, the science and the maths literacy also gets addressed by doing these activities and following the scientific process of first making, then observing, then connecting concepts, and then eventually exploring and creating variations and restarting that making cycle, right? So those are the kind of the 21st century skills in orange that have been mentioned. And of course, for communication and collaboration, we are still developing other tools to address those skills as well. What do teachers have to do next? What is your role? This, of course, shows how we've gone from an experiential learning kind of foundation, where we started with making hands-on activities, and now we see that it integrates very well with 21st century skills and requirements of the National Education Policy, which is asking all schools in the country to adopt these processes so that children have more fun learning and actually have better learning outcomes. So there's a digital platform, Unlab and Teacher Corner, which once you join those platforms, you'll be able to access all these resources. There's this Telegram group that we are asking you to join. The link is posted on the YouTube chat. Please click on it. If you've downloaded Telegram, you'll automatically be asked to join the group. If you've not yet downloaded Telegram, it'll ask you to download Telegram and then you can join the group. Okay. And of course, what is the support that you'll get from us? You'll get 3 activities with household materials. So the resources for that, meaning the instruction guides and manuals, those will be available to all teachers and students. Okay. And these 3 have been made mandatory by Karnataka government to be implemented in schools. So the materials are all household materials. And for teachers that actually get a lot of participation in their school and can demonstrate that, then there's extra funding to make sure that you're able to explore further and do more activities with us. Okay. The digital platform called Teacher Corner looks something like this, where each of you will be put into your particular grade and subject, and you'll be able to do things like configure classroom and access all these resources. So for a particular activity, you get to see the quick guide, material required, observation sheet, video, and video, as well as the resources for the teachers, which is something new compared to what you saw on the open source website, right? So once you're on our platform, there are these teacher resources also available, which includes a PowerPoint presentation, linking the concepts to the activity, as well as a video that's been shot by one of our educators. Teachers can translate it, they can use it for their own class, they can have a look at it and then use whatever they want. But it's just to show you how you can connect that activity to the theory itself. How to log in? So next you have to do is filling up the feedback form, which you must do right after this particular session. In the feedback form, you'll be given instruction. I mean, you'll be given the question of, do you want to join a teacher platform? And then once you do that, then you'll get instructions on how to log in within a week. Okay, will be sent by SMS to your phone. Please don't ignore that SMS. The instructions will come as an SMS. Click on the link and you'll be sent the instruction. And follow up and support on the Telegram group. Again, joining the Telegram group if you want continued support from ThinkTac to implement these programs, access our resources, and engage with the children by doing these type of activities with them. Our resources, all the activities that we are doing, providing to you, have all been translated into Kannada. So 7 activities per grade for 10 grades, 70 activities worth of content. The guides, observation sheets, etc. have been translated into Kannada. Just to give you an example, this is a maths activity as well. For those who teach maths or are in the maths workshops, these will be relevant. What is the benefit of joining this teacher community? Is we'll actually have these sessions, activity sessions that happen weekly. They'll be done live like this on YouTube Live, like you did with me today, the Respirometer. Like that, imagine over the course of the year, if you do 7 activities or even more, because these will happen every week. So you can join these activities, even if those aren't activities that you're directly making in your class. It will increase your engagement. You'll be able to do it in another class. You'll be able to do it next year, whatever you want. So just simple hands-on activities with simple materials that you can collect at home. We'll be doing those weekly sessions. There'll be peer sessions between teachers. You'll not only engage with the ThinkTac community, but also with all the teachers that are here right now. You'll be able to engage with them. The Raman Club support. So these are clubs we are got some funding from to open in various government schools. Okay, and we're already starting with 70 schools in Karnataka, where there'll be what we are calling Raman clubs set up. So that we like a tinkering lab where children can come and start making these activities and working on these simple activities. Teacher recognition will happen off and on, expert lectures, we'll have quizzes. So basically you'll have access to a lot of fun, engaging content and community interaction if you join our Telegram group and fill out the feedback form. How does one join? Show your interest in the feedback form. We are just going to share the feedback form link with you as well. Show your interest in the feedback form. Download and install Telegram, and you will automatically move to the appropriate Telegram group based on your district. Okay, so based on your district, you'll be able to you'll be moved to that particular Telegram group. So this will happen over the course of the next few days. But please, in the meantime, download the Telegram app if you don't have it yet, and then click on the link in the YouTube chat so that you can join the respective group. So on the YouTube chat, as I said, the live description, it's there. These are the 3 other links that you should be very familiar or aware about. Please do fill up the feedback form immediately. So karfeedback.thinktac.com. So for the Karnataka, karfeedback.thinktac.com. So fill out the feedback form there. Once you've filled out the feedback form, you'll also be, well, they're not connected, but the certificate can also, you can fill out that form when you have the time as well. So that is just certificate.thinktac.com. Okay, so that is a separate link. You can enter that URL and fill that out whenever you want. And of course, all the details will continue being on thinktac.com/Karnataka, where you should be able to access these forms again, right? So, and they'll also be on this particular YouTube video in the YouTube description. All these links will be there. The joining Telegram link, the Karnataka feedback link, and the certificate link. Rajesh, if you can repeat these important points in Kannada, we can.
Yes, bro. So, meanwhile, can you do one favor? Because this feedback link that you are saying seems to be different from what I have in the PPT. So, can yourself paste there in the chat window?
The feedback link?
Yes, KR, that whatever you said, here it's different. And
right.
I have only pasted the Telegram link so far.
Yes.
Okay. ಆತ್ಮ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರೇ, ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಪ್ರಚಿತ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದ ಹಾಗೆ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಸಹಭಾಗಿತ್ವವನ್ನು ಯಾವ ರೀತಿ ಮುಂದುವರಿಸಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಕಂಟೆಂಟ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಉಚಿತವಾಗಿ ಲಭ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಅದನ್ನು ಬೇರೆ ಬೇರೆ ಪ್ಲಾಟ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಅಪ್ಲೋಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ ಎಟ್ಸೆಟ್ರಾ. ಆದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂದು ಟೀಚರ್ ಕಮ್ಯುನಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವ ಒಂದು ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದು ಡೆವಲಪ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಮಗೆ ಇನ್ನಿತರ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನ ಕಾಲಕಾಲಕ್ಕೆ ತಕ್ಕಂತೆ ಒದಗಿಸಲಾಗುವುದು. ಆ ರೀತಿ ನೀವು ನಮ್ಮೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇರುವ ಒಂದು ಮೆಥಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಗ್ರೂಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಆ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಗ್ರೂಪಿಗೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇರುವ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಈ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಿನ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಸೊ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಆಪ್ ಅನ್ನು ನೀವು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಫೋನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಥವಾ ಲ್ಯಾಪ್ಟಾಪ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಾಲ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡಿರ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದು ಬಹುಶಃ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಆ ಅಪ್ಲಿಕೇಶನ್ ತಮ್ಮ ಡಿವೈಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ತಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಇತರ ಕಾರಣಗಳಿಗೋಸ್ಕರ ಉಪಯೋಗಿಸ್ತಾ ಇರ್ತೀರಾ. ಸೊ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ನ ಮೇಲ್ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿರುವ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನ, ಪಿನ್ ಮಾಡಲಾಗಿರುವ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಖಾತೆಗೆ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಅನ್ನ karfeedback.thinktac.com ಅನ್ನ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಪ್ರಚಿತ ಅವರು ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾಟ್ ಬಾಕ್ಸ್ ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಅದನ್ನ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ತರಬೇತಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಾಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಅನಿಸಿಕೆಗಳನ್ನ ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು. ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಮೌಲ್ಯಯುತವಾದ ವಿಚಾರ ಆಗಿರುತ್ತೆ, ತಮ್ಮ ಅನಿಸಿಕೆ ಹಾಗೂ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್. ಅದರ ಜೊತೆಗೆ ಇವತ್ತಿನ ತರಬೇತಿಗೆ ಸಂಬಂಧಪಟ್ಟಂತೆ ಸರ್ಟಿಫಿಕೇಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಕೂಡ ಒಂದು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನ certificate.thinktac.com ಅನ್ನ ಪ್ರಚಿತ ಅವರು ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನೀವು ಕೆಲವು ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ನೀಡಬೇಕಾಗಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಸೊ ಈ ವಿಚಾರ ಎಲ್ಲ ತಮಗೆ ಕ್ಲಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ.
Okay, I'll continue with the presentation. Just give me a second. Okay. Filling of the forms is easy. This is coming right now. That is the next slide. Yeah. So filling of the forms is just based on putting in your phone number. You'll get an OTP code and you'll be able to start filling out the forms. It just asks you these simple questions, all of them very obvious. You can fill them in. And if you need help, you just need to message on your Telegram group if you're struggling with anything. So that ends the presentation. This is just a final slide to show the kind of process that the child goes through when they make activities with us. It starts with a concrete experience, then observation, conceptualization, and then finally active experimentation where they make variations and learn more. So also known as the CODES experiential learning cycle. You can always email us info@thinktac.com and we'll be happy to answer any queries there as well. You've been given all the other instructions on how to join the various Telegram groups as well as the feedback form and the certificate form. So Rajesh, do you want to give some closing remarks about those important links, and then we can close the meeting.
Okay. So ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಫೀಡ್ಬ್ಯಾಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ದಯವಿಟ್ಟು ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕ್ಲಿಕ್ ಮಾಡಿ ನೀಡಬೇಕು. ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಖಾತೆಗೆ ಈಗಲೇ ನೀವು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯ ಪ್ರಶ್ನೆಗಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅದನ್ನ ನಾವಲ್ಲಿ ಉತ್ತರವನ್ನು ಕೊಡುವ ಪ್ರಯತ್ನವನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ನನಗೆ ಒಮ್ಮೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ನೋಡ್ತೇನೆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಪೇಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ನಂತರ.
Are there any questions on the YouTube chat with people struggling with any link or anything? Or it's all fine? Javeria, Rajesh, all under control, right?
One second, I'm checking is the number of. Okay, ಈಗ ತಾನೇ ಒಂದು 5-6 ಮಂದಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಕರು ಈ ಟೆಲಿಗ್ರಾಮ್ ಖಾತೆಯನ್ನ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಉಳಿದವರು ಸಹ ಆದಷ್ಟು ಬೇಗ ಇದನ್ನ ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ.
Right. Okay, we are just 3 minutes past 1:30, so we've kept quite well to time, and hopefully you enjoyed this presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed making the activity, and as we've said to you, it's a 7-activity program of which 3 have been made mandatory with household materials. The remaining 4 you can get by showing an interest and demonstrating that the children are interested and you have implemented these activities. Please join the Telegram groups if you want continued support, and then fill out the feedback form and the certificate form. Feedback form helps us in knowing how this program was. It helps you in getting engaged with us and sharing whatever you want with us in terms of your contact details. You can also not share it, and it's fine. And of course, the certificate form if you want to get a certificate that you have attended this event. For teachers who've not watched, of course, please tell them that they can always watch this video on YouTube. It will be available right at the end of this session. Okay, thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Good luck with everything. Thank you for your time, and have a great Saturday. Thank you.